Let's do some politics now. The governing New Patriotic Party has slated June 20 for the conduct of its primaries, contrary to the conventional gathering of delegates at one point organization of the party's primaries. The NPP says this year's primaries will be held at the various electoral areas at the constituency level. The decision was made after a crunch meeting of the party's executive committee Wednesday afternoon. Communications Director of the NPP, Yabo Abiyan-Samuel, is our guest. He joins us via Zoom with more on this impending primaries, which is roughly 3 weeks away. Mr. Bobin, thank you very much for your time here on Newsdays. First, help us understand the voting at the electoral areas and the rationale behind this new measure.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your listeners. It's basically within the context of observing, and actually implementing the restrictions that have been imposed on us by COVID. Before this time, we've lost the deadline because we couldn't really organize ourselves within the restrictions at the time. Now, fortunately and happily, restrictions have been lifted to the extent that perhaps if you work very hard, 100 people can gather in reasonable safety, social distancing, hygienic protocols, and everything else associated with that. So on the basis of that, the party is determined to hold this parliamentary primaries for the seats that have MP incumbents, 168 of them. And the system, in order to fall within the slightly eased restrictions, is that we will vote at electoral area level, where you have combinations of polling stations at about 10 to 12 each.
Is the electoral area the smallest unit in the party?
The smallest unit is the polling station, made up of 5. 5 officials. An average electoral area has between 10 to 12 polling stations. Yeah, so it means you can comfortably congregate those people and have them vote at that level. And you can easily observe the social distancing protocols thereof.
So why not go for the minimum or the basic structure, which is the polling station, where you'd have less of the people congregate, if indeed COVID-19 is anything to go by?
5 people. The logistics of running an election for 5 people, if you use Adenta as an example, scattered over 147 polling stations. It's a nightmare.
Absolutely.
It's a total nightmare. But if you bring 10 polling stations together, 10, 12, you are dealing with an average of 60 people. Within 3-4 hours, they should all have voted.
So we have how many constituencies? Because I know that you held elections for the orphan constituencies already. So how many are we looking at?
168.
168 across the country. What are the modalities as we prepare for June 20 in terms of the vetting exercise, the submission of forms in the first place? Can you run us through that process?
Everything is over, bar voting. We would have voted on April 25th, but for COVID. So everything is over. And tomorrow, the General Secretary of the party, Mr. John Boadu, will put out a full list of qualified candidates, the final list of qualified candidates, that is aspirants, those who can contest, to be out tomorrow. So all the processes have been gone through, right through to the end of all appeals processes.
And I know that there were a few areas that you had issues with. There were disputes here and there. Have all those disputes been settled already?
Yes. Tomorrow you have the full list. If there are any outstanding, to be on the list tomorrow.
We know that the president is also supposed to be acclaimed. Why is that, and what is it going to be like? How is this going to roll out?
Yes, it's one of the highlights that COVID has made us miss. But at the same time, COVID has demonstrated how strong a leader the president really is. He has had no challenger in filing his nomination, so he's the sole candidate. And ideally, under normal circumstances, we would have met in a group to acclaim him. But we can't meet, so The National Council, which is the highest decision-making body of the party, has accepted recommendations to accept that he's the sole nominee and therefore proceed to more or less acclaim him by deed. So
how is that going to be done practically?
Yeah, we will find a date where it will be convenient enough to outdoor him, and it will be done. It will be an outdooring of sorts, but not an acclamation to accept him. That has been done.
How sure are we?
I'm trying to make myself clear.
How sure are we that we're not going to run into legal issues just because of COVID-19?
Oh, no, we are not ignoring the basis. That is why I'm saying that the National Council, which is the highest making decision body, has accepted that. The steering committee has made a recommendation to the National Executive Council, which has approved that recommendation. The National Council has ratified it, that he be deemed to be the presidential candidate. He's the person solely who filed. The National Council has that authority to act on behalf of the entire party in that sense. So his acceptance as the candidate is now done. It's been deemed to have been acclaimed by the party. And so now, the next step is to adore him to the public, and a date will be set for that. And
let me remind viewers, listeners, that we are speaking to the Director of Communications for the NPP, who is also MP for Adenta, Mr. Yabwabia Samoa. On the issue of campaigning, once John Boadu announces the list of people who are contesting in the various constituencies, campaigning will start in earnest. What are the guidelines for campaigning for the various constituencies and the candidates?
I think the biggest challenge now is how we campaign in the context of COVID. So every candidate has to think beyond what the traditional assumptions are. You can't congregate people in appreciable numbers, and therefore, what do? I think now we will see the ingenuity of different candidates. But critically for the party, the key essence is that you don't go beyond the restrictions imposed by the national authorities. The party will not determine for anybody how they conduct their campaign, as long as they observe social distancing, they observe the hygiene protocols, and everything is done in such a way as to protect the people who are involved.
I would have thought that you put in some guidelines just to guide people with as human beings we're talking about, so that we are all guided, even though there's the general rules about social distancing and all that about COVID-19. Perhaps the party want to go an extra step to make sure that it really enforces all that government is doing.
Yeah, Roland, beyond the general guidelines, we've always had moral and persuasive guidelines about one's conduct and utterances and respect for the party, not undermining the party in one's campaign, operating within the rules, literally, of self-respect, respect for the party, respect for the national constitution. Those things have always been there. And you sign up and you sign off that you will not go beyond those limits. But we are talking about, if you ask me guidelines now, I believe we are talking about COVID guidelines.
Absolutely.
And essentially, for COVID guidelines, you can't go beyond the self-discipline that's been imposed by the hygiene protocols that we've all been asked to observe. Literally, as long as one protects oneself, one protects the rest of society. And that is something that requires a lot of self-discipline, and we must all observe. If you give rules, it's not a question of policing those rules. The rules now are very clear. If you don't have anything doing, don't step out of your home. That's a fact now. If you have something doing, you're going to campaign, make sure you protect yourself. You have your face mask on. You wash your hands as frequently as possible coming across any Veronica bucket in public. You have hand sanitizer with you. And whilst out there, you're careful not to touch your face and otherwise with your hand. So when you meet somebody you want to campaign to, or you meet a group you want to campaign to, you make sure they are sitting far enough apart, and that you are also sitting or standing far enough apart from them. And I think if we observe these individual self-protective mechanisms, we'll be protecting each other all the while. You can't have any more rules beyond that.
Now, I want us to talk about the election itself. Usually, one of the major challenges that comes up during such primaries is about the electoral roll. People go there and say that my name is not in the register, or this is not what my candidate was given. Is there going to be some form of an exhibition so people can check, their names, so that we don't encounter some of these challenges on June 20?
The party is going to put out the full modalities for the election, but this is a generic matter that always happens. And as we speak now, all identity compiled in albums or registered for each constituency is with the National Secretariat of the party. And it is the National Secretariat as a custodian who hand over those registers or albums, as we call them, in the local parliament, to the Electoral Commission. So every album will be brought to the polling or to the electoral area or the constituency by National Elections Officer from the Electoral Commission. So there ought not to be those difficulties.
Now, in the lead up to where we are now on your primaries, the idea of having electronic voting was considered. I know the party was flirting with that idea. It appears it has been abandoned. Why?
It hasn't come up for any discussion where I've been sitting in.
And so this is not something that you want to consider at all going forward?
Not on air.
All right, Mr. Boabin, also on election and campaigning, we understand that the deputy Maslog boss is campaigning and appears, allegedly, is involved in what people may consider as vote buying. Has this come to the party's attention?
Not where I'm sitting. I'm not aware of it. But now you mention it, I'll find out if there's anything like that happening.
Very well. There are pictures online to that effect where they're sharing some materials and all of that. Maybe the party will want to take this up and look into it.
I'm certain if there's anything going on that's an infraction of the rules, they'll look at it.
Now, I also want us to consider, in the past you have had some affirmative action, as far as your primaries are concerned. In certain areas, you allow women to go unopposed. You also reduce the filing fees for some women in some constituencies. Are we going with that this year?
Yeah, we have already. All that has been done. Like I said, but for COVID, we would have voted by April 25th. And those are matters that come in at opening and filing of nominations period.
Okay.
Which happened way back in March, where women and youth had to pay only half of the required fees. And hopefully, by persuasion, many of the women who are proudly supporting the flag of Ghana in Parliament are likely to be returned to Parliament.
Mr. Boabin, thank you very much for speaking to us here on Newsdesk. We'll be following all the activities leading up to June 20, when you will select the 167 candidates to represent, to contest on the ticket of the NPP come December 7. And that was the Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party, Boabin Samoa. Still on election 2020, in the Upper East region, the two-day pilot registration exercise has been generally smooth, with a total of 125 people successfully going through the process at the end of the exercise. Correspondent Albert Sori has a wrap of the events in the region from the office of the Electoral Commission in Bolga.
Today, the Electoral Commission of Ghana here in the Upper East region is wrapping up the pilot registration exercise for the Upper East region. The exercise began yesterday, where we are told that 60 people in total took part in the exercise. Today, a few more people have come here and they have successfully gone through. Now, usually when you arrive, you are expected to go and have your temperature taken. From there, you wash your hands, and then you go through other protocols to ensure that you are not spreading the coronavirus. Here at the waiting area, they've also ensured social distancing. So we are going to talk to the regional director of the Electoral Commission so he can take us through what basically has been going on.
So far, I can say it's been smooth and successful in the sense that we haven't recorded any technical hitch or any other form of upset. Yesterday, we were able to record as many as 60. And today, as I speak with you, we've recorded 36. The day is still young. We are not done yet, and I believe that the number will increase as we go along.
One issue that came up was the fact that they needed to take a pause to update the machines. So that brought about a bit of a break. And so people who came here to take part in the exercise had to wait for a while.
We have two modes when they are working. We have the pilot mode or demo mode, that is demonstration mode, and the active mode. They had the signal, in my absence, they had a signal that they should switch over to one of the modes or the other. That is perhaps might have caused the hitch or the glitch temporary that we observed. For the technicians manning the kit, they had their training and they are now on. We are also doing our training with the other staff members who indeed go and replicate the exercise on the field proper when it comes to the real registration. We are ready. Commission training and everything, schedules are on point, and we are ready to roll.
The machines eventually were put back on track, and then the exercise continued.
Well, it's a cool process, and as a Ghanaian, you have to take part in everything that the government brings out, so it's good to.
Now, the Upper East Regional Minister, Tangoba Abayagi, also came here just to talk to officials of the Electoral Commission and to also observe for herself how successful or otherwise the piloting exercise has been.
Sometimes these machines run into trouble, so we are hoping that we won't have that sort of challenge. As long as we don't have that and the machines have been upgraded and the features they are giving work well, I think we are good to go, and it's a good exercise for us.
From the Upper East Regional Office of the Electoral Commission here in Bolgatanga, my name is Albert Sori, reporting for JoyNews.
And of course, this is your election headquarters. You want to stay with us for everything election. Araba Kumsin will come your way at 2 p.m. with election brief. Away from that, she's lived with breast cancer for more than 12 months, and one of them is literally rotting away. Agnes, a 43-year-old mother of two, now lives every day in extreme pain and penury. To make matters worse, her landlord is threatening to evict her because her rent has expired. Daniel Dazi visited Agnes at her home and now reports. Very sad story there. We'll bring you more on this subsequently. The Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana has called on government to make the access to its stimulus package flexible for farmers in rural communities, as most of them do not have the required TIN numbers to access the package. They made this call during a training program for over 300 agric extension officers in 36 districts across the country, which is aimed at extending COVID-19 education to farmers in rural areas. Correspondent Anasa Bittersmore in the following report.
Since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, farmers face various issues in order to continue feeding both the rural and urban population. Whilst health authorities continue to call on the people to stay home as much as possible as a key way of stopping the spread of the pandemic, peasant farmers continue to risk their lives just to provide food to the working class. With little or no knowledge on how to stay safe, this group continue to remain vulnerable. To tackle this worrying situation, the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana is training over 300 agric extension officers in 36 districts in order to carry out COVID-19 education to farmers. Mr. Charles Nyaba is the head of programs and advocacy at PFAG.
We realize that smallholder farmers are more vulnerable because these people are situated in the rural areas. They don't have access to television, they don't have access to social media. So our fear is that if we don't begin to educate them, and the event that the sickness spread to them, what we will get will be more than what we are experiencing in US and other places. So we then decided to carry out this project to educate extension officers. You know, they are the teachers of the farmers. They have the ability to go to the rural areas and pass this information to them. So we are hoping that after they are properly educated, they will also go to disseminate the same information to them.
Municipal Director of Agriculture for Techiman, Mr. James Adu, calls on government to include the training of agric extension officers in its plan, as the move will put them in pole position to address questions raised by farmers on the field.
And I think COVID-19 is one of the cross-cutting issues. And what helps is that, you see, we go to the remote areas because of the nature of our work. So if our extension officers are educated and they are resourced, they can reach out more to the rural folks than any other person, because that is where you work.
With regards to government's stimulus package, Mr. Nyaba is afraid most farmers cannot access the package due to its requirements.
Recently, there is a credit facility for small-scale businesses to support them to remain businesses. The conditions on the which to get that facility, smallholder farmers will not be able to meet those conditions. For instance, you need to register your business. You need to have a TIN number. Most smallholder farmers don't register their businesses. They don't have TIN numbers, so it means automatically they are out of businesses. Meanwhile, these are the core who provide food for all of us. So we think that in that area, government need to find a way of making it flexible for them to be able to access that credit.
Daniel Nyando is an agric extension officer. For him, the absence of personal protective equipment for agric extension officers is putting them at risk in line of their jobs.
We are at risk. We are afraid that as we go without those things, even we ourselves are at risk. So that is the reason why we are a little bit scared small.
The Peasant Farmers Association presented personal protective equipment including face masks, Veronica buckets, hand sanitizers, tissue papers, and other items to the District Department of Agric to complement the activities of its field officers. Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit, Techiman.
Let's do more on this. Charles Nyaba is Director of Programs for Peasant Farmers Association, and he joins us on the line with more. Thank you very much, Mr. Nyaba, for your time here on Newsdesk. So the issue of TIN numbers has come up, but that aside, what more are the challenges that these farmers are facing, in order to access the stimulus package?
Good afternoon, and then thank you so much for the opportunity. As I spoke to your reporter earlier, I'm currently on the farm in Kintampo North, in a community called Kobeda. We are planting, and if you see the farm, I wish I could put it on the live screen for everybody to see. You see that we are struggling to fight fall armyworm. Crop stem borers are also destroying the maize. Most of the farmers are not able to apply for fertilizer, even with the subsidy. Last year, we were buying it for 75. This year, that price is very high. And because of the COVID, where smallholder farmers used to get flexible credit from the informal sector to buy inputs, fertilizer, tractor service to do their farm,
most of those businesses have also experienced some challenges, so they are not able to advance such support to the farmers. So it means that with last year with the lower price for inputs like fertilizer, and this year the higher price, and even the fact that they won't get the credit is likely to affect their activities. Now, in terms of the credit facility, as we were talking earlier on, that 600 million is not enough for even one region if it is to be given to smallholder farmers. That is one. And secondly, the conditions under which one can apply that smallholder farmers are able to meet those conditions.
Mr. Nyaba, we seem to be losing you. If you can just position yourself very well so that then we can have a clean feed to you.
Is it better?
I think that you still have to position yourself well. If you're using a headset, you may want to speak directly on the phone so that we don't have that interference.
I'm struggling to get it.
Okay, just go ahead, sir. We'll make do with this.
Yeah, I'm saying that, so apart from the challenges the farmers are facing in terms of the fall armyworm, stem borers, and other challenges on the field, there is increase in input prices like fertilizer. Even with the subsidy on as part of the planting for food and jobs, the price is very high. It's higher than last year. Last year, we were getting the NPK for 75 Ghana cedis. This year, it's 84. And the fact that other businesses are impacted by the COVID, who would have, under the normal conditions, advanced flexible credit to smallholder farmers and cannot do it, means that the farmers are going to suffer more. So we think that for us to still maintain our activities and to increase our production, there is a need for a customized incentive or package for us to be able to continue with our farming activities.
Customized incentive for just farmers or peasant farmers?
For smallholder farmers in Ghana, when we talk about peasant farmers, we represent all the smallholder farmers in Ghana, except that those who registered with us are what we call the members of peasant farmers association. So when we talk about the customer incentive, we are referring to all smallholder farmers in Ghana.
What in your estimation will be enough for smallholder farmers during this period? How much are you looking at per person or per farm?
For the cost details than that, we have over 5 million people being on the smallholder farmer activities.
Okay.
They don't really need much. They always need 2,500 to 2,000 to be able to carry out their activities. So we need to do the analysis. If you are giving even the maximum of 2,000 Ghana cedis per each farmer, and then we multiply that by, let's say, 5 million farmers, smallholder farmers, then we'll be able to arrive at how much can do for us. I haven't done those analysis to tell the exact amount that can do for us.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Nyaba, for raising these concerns with us. We'll follow up with the Agric Ministry. Hopefully, we're going to get some answers for you and the people you represent. That's Director of Operations for Peasant Farmers Association, Charles Inyaba. And coming up in business here on Newstex, government has signed a €500 million contract to have the construction of a railway line from some parts of the western region to the Takoradi port. Daryl Call has details after the break. Don't go away.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Call. Government has signed a €500 million contract with Amandi Investment Limited for the construction of a more than 10-kilometer railway line to the Takoradi port. The project, which is the largest single government investment in the sector, is expected to link the Western Railway line to the port for delivery of cargo. Here is the Minister for Railway Development, Joe Gatti.
Standard gauge between Takoradi Port and Huni Valley, forming a total of 102 kilometers of continuous single-track railway line with stations along the tracks, an initial workshop facility, and an initial complement of rolling stock. The indicated scope of works includes the construction, provision, testing, and commissioning of the following works: the construction of approximately 8 kilometers of standard gauge railway tracks connecting the existing dual gauge tracks in Takoradi to the Takoradi port for easy and efficient access for cargo handling. the conversion of 10.6 kilometers of the track between Takoradi to Kojokrom from narrow gauge to standard gauge. This will include the conversion works and materials involved and the supply of 10 new standard gauge turnouts. The construction of a bypass section along the Kojokrom to Masu section of the Western Line at Eshim to enhance the speed of the railway infrastructure and meet the requirement and specification in the reviewed 2020 Railway Master Plan. The construction of a railway line from Masu to Huni Valley, approximately 60 kilometers of single track lines, and in addition, the construction of 8 basic stations along the existing line from Amantin to Huni Valley, including all construction works, station building, access roads, CCTV and access control, backup generator, and water tanks.
Meanwhile, the project is expected to be approved by Cabinet and then Parliament by October this year. Joe Garte believes that the project can be completed in 42 months.
The 2012 contract did not include the Takoradi port. The Takoradi station is outside the Takoradi port. Under this contract, 8 kilometers of railway line within the Takoradi port will be constructed. I'm also excited that this contract includes the construction of a workshop facility for standard gauge rolling stock. It also includes the supply of some rolling stock. The total project cost is 500 million euros, and I'm told that at today's rate, that is about $560 million. The duration of the contract is 42 months from the date of commencement. With the signing of the contract today, we must satisfy the conditions precedents before commencement. This includes approval from Cabinet to take the contract to Parliament. We must also complete the value for money audit and the environmental and social impact assessment. This is ongoing. If we work hard, we can complete all the remaining processes and commencement can be in October 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, today's event is very significant. This is the largest single railway contract that has been signed in Ghana since independence. It is the first time that we have signed in one contract, a contract over $500 million.
And that's your business update. Stay tuned to News Desk.
Wager Old Barrier here in Accra. I've come to see someone who has been trapped by poverty and imprisoned by disease. A 43-year-old mother of 2 who has been suffering from breast cancer for over a year. Can't breathe. Agnes, good morning.
Sorry. Here we are. Are you safe for the how many months? Also, maybe the same thing. For more than.
Abrafi. Ele boafo. Uso confirme. Let Papa cry reject me.
We are then a wishing for
Oh, dear mommy. Many simple. At this, he called the mommy name of Francis. You shall not buy a new ring. 15 CDs. Oh, Madame Fu. Menene on sitting baby, Miss Meeting baby. But I say, your fire who say, and you know. It's maybe a chumna, Menene bepe dine. I said, baby, all so it's a bepe dine one. I said, 4 to 5 months me tenant camp. And I may yana moto say me ba abeshen. Already I didn't know. Me the kind who assassin. And then you say be a debia. Eba be si. Ti ade no be ye ni se no. asa me hu no be 2 to 3 5 months no me ba ha na me be hu in fact da no na areho akam na me hu se nipa ye mobo pa because we are sewonim udabre a edi ti me be hu no na da no kura de obedi no oni bi ti hu na me jai kakakra etu no ho so ndi on fanya yi ba se na me si hu ade no ekro no esone nsuo no me koye mentumi anda na o se ntempa mu a o se ade chia me saba ti ade chia me baye eni me ene a me wo mu ti da bia da wo se me be hwe no da bia da wo se me be hwe no se na ne ho sitie ti ne dua ne die mu ne samuna edi be si ne nyoma na kane no ono atumi ye kakrakra se opusa nyoma no ba se si ade ajinsem
how is it like?
Any mama mene mo kasa sesi ano no for no no baby no sesi ami nyina bi ni ho bio okuro me wakole bu ho na me no for na se eno ane paye but my mom will I can't say my mom who are almost a Jimmy Chihuahua. Let me obey Colana Mammy. To me, friends, yes, sir. Yeah, bandage, yeah, mammy. It's your knife for ya, when it for ya, family. I did quite here, asking over here. I'm not damn it, Diana. This you not for no son. Yamamwa. I don't can name my Yamamwa. The Nena Miniaja. Okay, for a palm.